Well, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing and whoever you're doing it to, on this lovely school holidays Thursday, I'm doing it with two 7-year-olds in the next room playing on a Wii U so that I can get some freaking tank videos done. School holidays, long may they finish. This is the Panther II. This is also a patron-sponsored post. If you haven't considered sponsoring the channel, the patrons and the sponsors are the people who keep these videos coming out every single day. Go to bushka.blitz.com and check out the patron-only section if you are a patron and you haven't, because I just put up a T62A masterclass video and there's lots of stuff there for you. Now, the Panther II is a tank I swore I would never, ever drive again on my honour as a tanker and a gentleman. But unfortunately, I'm probably neither of those things, because I'm driving this thing and I actually quite enjoyed it. It's an interesting thing to look at the Panther and the Panther II. They have received buffs over the course of the last few patches from Wargaming, and they've worked them up to the point now where, because of their reputation, they actually get a bit of a pantsing. But the reputation was earned a fair while ago, and things have changed. The Panther II's biggest issue used to be like that it's soft, and it is still soft, but the DPM nowadays and the gun and everything, it works. It's typically tier 8 medium, and by that I mean if you look at the Scent one, the STA one, the Indian, the Pershing, all these tanks end up with around about 200 alpha, 220, 225, 190. They all end up being about 2,000 damage per minute to 2,100 damage per minute, and the Panther II is right there at 2,030, and they've all got reasonably good guns. In fact, the Panther II's gun is a red hot little number. The 88mm L71 is the one that I'm using, and you've got a multitude of guns on this tank that all seem to work. The Panther I's gun is, in my opinion, probably the best gun at tier 7, and you do have that gun and the option to run this gun at tier 8. And that's no laughing matter, because the Panther I's gun has 198mm of pen on its AP, and the Panther II can run that gun quite quickly. That's the 88mm on the Panther II. However, the gun I'm running on this is the 88 L71. That's 203mm of pen on its AP, 237 on its APCR. It also has an improved alpha damage of 220 over the 160 you get on the gun on the Panther. And that's handy. It really is. And it makes life a little bit easy, because you're dealing with bigger hit point pools and such big alpha damage coming back your way that you need to put a little more damage out on your shots than the 160 allows you to. Now, that's not to say that I wouldn't like maybe a little more alpha on the gun and a little less rate of fire, because 9 rounds a minute is great, but at 220 and 2,000 damage per minute, it's not really amazing. But the gun works. It's not a problem. The gun is not the problem on the tank. 0.34 dispersion, 1.9 second aim time, which is lovely. And I run it with a rammer, a vertical stabilizer, and a not events. I run it with optics as well. And it's mobile. It gets around. It's 43 degrees of traverse on its tracks, 35 degrees of traverse on its turret, and 55 kilometers an hour on its top speed. The problem with this tank is that it's soft as butter and it's big as a house. It is one of those tanks that loves eating pies, and because of that, its camo rating is crap, and you really have to be very careful with it. And I'm just telling Hoodie there that he can have that shot. And you can see I'm actually driving for Hoodie in the Borsig here. I've suckered this T54 out here. We've got no problems penning him using the APCR, and we're just waiting for Hoodie to finish him and put the big damage in, and he does. And that's why we're here. Like we're basically playing a two-man game with this little numpty, and then the Hoods to finish him off in the Borsig. It's just big and soft. The all the tanks at tier 8 are going to go through you with AP. You can side scrape a little bit, but gee, you'd want to be very, very good at side scraping and very, very quick. And it's more about that being quick thing that you're dealing with. Like the tank has no armour, and it's not low to the ground. It's not a low profile tank, so you've got to be clever with it. So it's a challenging drive, and I think I can drive it now because it is a challenging drive, and you can see here I'm using HE on the top of that waffle tractor. I don't know if that's an official nickname for it, but I call it the waffle tractor just because Waffen Traeger. It lends itself to being a tractor. The Panther II was really good for me. I loved it. I had a good time driving it. But I've also come back to Jesus and had moments where I'm now liking driving the Leopard PTA and enjoying all these tanks that I sucked in before. And I think it's partly because I'm a better tanker, but partly too because I just like driving something different. I've got something like 30,000 battles now combined on the exhibition account and my normal account. And that's a lot of battles, you know. And you can see here the IS-3 Defender, the bane of existence at tier 8. God, that tank. It's penning straight through it, like nailing it. That's an important thing to be able to do, because even though you've got to fire APCR to do it, I mean, look at the aim time of the tank. It's excellent. The gun handling is brilliant. So if you get good enough at driving and using game mechanics and resetting camo and spotting and all those kind of things, you'll end up being good enough in this tank to be really, really successful. And I enjoyed it. And that's important. It's funny because I just reviewed the M48A1 again, and I call that the vanilla gorilla because it is. It's a little bit good at a lot of things, but it's not really the best at anything. And I enjoyed driving it. And I just reviewed the Leopard PTA again, and although it's soft as butter and it's lightning quick, and I've come to appreciate tanks with good gun penetration numbers. And the German tanks tend to have that. The E50 is a bit of a novelty in that way. It doesn't have the best pen at all. It's very M46 pattern-like. Whereas the Panther I and the Panther II both have good pen. The Panther I's pen is electric. The best pen on the Comet, which I think is the best tier 7 medium, is 208. The Panther I's AP rounds are 198mm of pen. Panther II's APCR rounds are 243mm of pen, or 244. I forget. I've got so many figures in my head. I forget these things sometimes. The other thing that this is very un-German-like, is it's got 8 degrees of gun depression. It's quite similar to the Indian, but it's got a much, much better aim time. The Indian has a 2.9 second aim time. Wow. And before the other tanks got buffed and they brought in other tanks, that wasn't such a big thing. But there's a few other mediums at tier 8 now that have, very similar guns, and it's left the Indian in a little bit of a tough spot. It's much tougher than the Panther. Don't get me wrong. Much tougher than the Panther II. But you can see how easy it is to get shots in with this tank, and how, we're in a tier 8 game. Lots of big hit points out there to kill. We're getting bounces there, not because of the thickness of the upper glacis, but because we're angling it at such a steep place that it becomes an auto bounce zone. That SU 122 44, not 54. We give another one into the blind shot just in case, but we don't get the kill. You can see the Indian there with me. A very stark contrast between the two tanks. A bit of a pin turret. Lots more in terms of armor profile. We put one through the drive wheel. That's the other thing. 9 rounds a minute will get you an auto track on quite a few tanks that don't have quick repair speeds on their tracks. So you can auto track things and keep them stuck in place while you pepper them and smack them, and that's really, really good. The 8 degrees of gun depression doesn't exist in the E50 and the E50M. In a lot of the German tanks, to get the gun depression, you've got to go over the side of the tank, which is, you've got a lot more gun depression over the side of the tank than you do over the front of the tank. So bear that in mind. But with this one, it's 8 degrees all round apart from the back, where it drops down to, I think, 7. IS-3 Defender, no problems. We are getting great shots in the back of him, and we've identified him as a prime target. If you're in tier 8 and you're not killing these fellas quick, the Defender's an overpowered tank. There's just no two ways around it. And the new gun on the IS-6 is also pretty bloody strong as well. So keep your eyes peeled for those tanks, because they need to be prime targets at all times. One of the things you'll notice about the way I'm playing this tank is I'm going very, very slow and methodically working shots. You need to start thinking about this in the playstyle manner, guys. If you're running around the game and you can put a couple of shots in every minute and you're actually living and you're not taking damage, by the end of the game you'll have a really good average damage. You don't need to win the game in the first 30 seconds. And I think that's one of the reasons why I am better now with this tank than I used to be, because I used to consistently try and win the game early. And you can see we're down now 3 tanks to 5, and the T-44 says good game. Oh buddy, you're talking crap and smack way too early. There's 2 on 5. A lot of time left on the clock yet, boys and girls. And the Panther is just working its way around the battlefield, filling them up, doing the business. And we're backing up, backing up. He's just looking for a shot, and we smack him, and suddenly it's 2-on-3, and things are looking a little more interesting. That IS-3 over there is doing yeoman's work, and we are pumping along to get him. There is an IS there. We're going to ignore him. We know that we do not want to be killing an IS only to turn around and have to face a full health, or just about full health T-29, and a very, very strong IS-3 defender. So we're pushing around here, getting past the T-29, and that T-44 who said good game at 5-2 is now thinking maybe not such good game because the IS-3 defender's gone and he was their best player. He's not very happy about it either, and I can't blame him because that T-29 should have been around there smacking me, not moseying, smacking the IS-3, not moseying around looking for the Panther II. So here we go. Just got to nut him now. And we've found the old adrenaline. We've got enough hit points in the tank. We've just got a KV-3, sorry. Or is it an IS? It's an IS. I've got KVs in the brain. Bounce. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. We've gone to APCR. This is another weird thing about the loadouts on this contributor account. I sometimes don't change them and they're just at odd numbers, and we've run out of AP rounds. So we're now firing APCR because all the AP rounds are gone. Whatever. It's just one of those things. You can see it's a great tank if you drive it well. And I drove that pretty solid. Over 4,000 damage. That's a lot of damage to do in a tier 8 medium. You can do more, but they don't have massive damage per minute numbers. And even when you're firing pretty solidly, you've got to put a lot of shots out there to do 4,000 damage. You know, that's over 20 connections, really, or just about 20 connections and penetrations, which is a lot of damage. I love this line. This is the tank you get at the end of it. And this is one of the reasons why I think it's so worth driving, because you get just the best gun rolling around, apart from the .27 dispersion on the grill, and it's on a much better gun platform. You get speed, you get armour, you can side scrape the tank, you can ram. The E50M is a glorious machine, and it used to be tough. It used to be a tough grind going through the Panther and the Panther II to get to the E50, which, although I loved the E50, is very, very poor in terms of pen, despite the fact that it's got a very accurate weapon. And the E50M is the shining jewel in this line, and I love this tank a whole hell of a lot. I've had 746 games in this tank on my normal account. I had a lot of games in it back when I was a complete moron. I didn't use the tank well enough at all. And even though it did really well for me back then, I really didn't deserve it. And I still can't get the bloody mastery in this tank. I pull it out every once in a while just to try and get the mastery because it frustrates me that you can get M's in everything. But the E50M, for some reason, eludes me. The Panther II is a good, solid tank. If you're not doing it well with this tank now, after the, it's got the DPM now, its mobility's fine. It's got no armour, but neither does the Leo, neither does the PTA, really neither does the Panther I, but you can drive those things successfully. What you've got to understand is that you have to adjust your playstyle for the tank. It's all well and good to... Oh, we get 150 by hitting the gun. That's something to watch out for, the waffle tractor. And any of the Germans, if you go for the turret where the softest part is, do not hit the gun, because the gun is a module and it will absorb HE damage, so that you end up doing 150 rolls like that on a 440 alpha HE shot. Also, watch out when you kill E50Ms, because what happens is there's a little bit of debris sticking off the left side of this E50M that blends into the background on this waffle tractor, and it makes me think I'm actually hitting the waffle tractor, and I'm just hitting that little deep bit of debris on the left side of the E50M you see there. And that nearly kills me. So the Panther II, good gun, worth a drive. I had a lot of fun with it. The tank is more than capable of carrying given the right circumstances, given enough hit point conservation during the course of the match, as in you're not at the front. You're never at the front. You cannot be at the front. It's like a leopard PTA. If you go to the front and they're not stupid, you'll get in trouble. And at tier 8, that's a big problem because a lot of tier 8 tanks are just hit point trading YOLOers. They are there earning credits in their premiums, IS6s, IS3 defenders, T34s, louvers. I mean, Yag Panther 8.8s, they're there to earn credits, and a lot of the guys don't play much in terms of tier 8. They usually play lower tiers, and they're earning the credits, which is fair enough. But you need to be aware of that fact. So if you push into a game, they'll just push on you in a hit point trade. And then if you're in a Panther II and a tank like that, when the end of the game comes and there's a full hit point IS3 defender left, and you've got him on a reload, and you go out and you've only got 400 hit points, well, you're a one-shot, and you don't have enough time to take his hit point pool out. And hit point pools are much, much bigger at tier 8 than most of the other tiers because there are a huge prevalence of big, heavy tanks. So you've got to do a lot of work, a lot of bloody work to get through big hit point pools, which means there's lots of hit points on offer. You can make a lot of damage, but at the same time, do not be the guy at the front of the pack in the Panther II. I enjoyed the tank. I think you'll enjoy it too if you play smart. I'm very, very proud of the patrons and everyone else who's supporting the channel. Thanks very much for your passion for my passion. I'm Bushka on Blitz team. Stay safe on the battlefield.